Hey, this is Khan, you're watching Ninja Pulls. Let's talk about Highland Sentinel. This set has been getting a lot of attention lately. It's popping up in dummy passes and getting some great numbers. Here at Ninja Pulls, we've had a lot of questions and there's clearly some confusion about it. So I wanted to make this quick little video to spread some calm and clarify a few points. 1. Highland Sentinel is pretty much just for dummy humping. 2. Yes, it inflates your dummy numbers significantly. And 3. It is creating some misunderstandings about which setups work best. Personally, I don't understand why this set even exists, and if it went away, I'm not sure anyone would miss it. But it does exist, and people are welcome to use whatever sets they damn well please, in trials or in testing. I don't care about that. What I care about is the confusion and time wasting among players who are just trying to run the best setup. A quick reminder, Highland Sentinel is a crafted set that arrived with Gold Road. The 5-piece is crazy strong, but only works when you're standing still. ZOS have famously designed ESO to be very movement intensive, so most of us wrote this set off pretty quickly as a dummy cheese and not much else. That's point number 1, this is a weird set for the devs to release, when standing still is kind of antithetical to the nature of the content, especially the recent stuff. True, there are places where you just stack and whack. In Ethereum Archive, I bet you could do most bosses without moving a muscle, provided your group is tightly organized, and this set has been used for stuff like that. There are other fights too which involve bursts of movement, followed by periods of staying in place. Will it work there too? I ran the numbers and I've tested it, and the answer is no, not for most players. It's true that if you move literally once or twice per minute, it still performs ahead of Berserking Warrior, which isn't a meta set, but is a very decent benchmark, so that's still pretty good. But those movements have to be extremely small and quick, and at least 6 seconds apart. The problem is that one move is usually followed by another move to get back in position, and also you don't know when the set is checking for movement. If you happen to take a step just as 1 second ticks into the next, you'll be penalized twice and lose almost all your stacks, and that's when the set drops below Berserking Warrior on average, which again is not even a meta set. So even one move per minute, if your timing is unlucky, is enough to make it uncompetitive, which is the whole point of running it. Not to mention the fact that your ability to perform mechanics, res teammates, and generally make yourself useful goes out the window if you're frozen to the spot. If your groups are super on point and making every fight very predictable, some of this won't apply to you. And at the end of the day, guys, I'm not telling you which sets to use. If you want to test this yourself, please go ahead, so long as your raid lead is cool with it. There's nothing wrong with having niche sets in the game. The issue I have with this one is that it inflates dummy numbers to such a degree, and I'll explain why that's not great. Using tricks to boost dummy numbers is nothing new. Most of us wouldn't use single stat food in content, but do it regularly in testing. A lot of people even think that Reliquien, the kilt, and daggers are things that only work on the dummy and you literally cannot use them in content. That's obviously crazy, and I've no idea where that came from, but there is a lot of misinformation out there. That's kind of why I'm making this video. Highland Sentinel is a big damage boost, even above the other meta sets. Take Magsork as an example, since the rotation can be almost completely static and human error is then less of a factor. Without Sentinel, using just Reliquien and Aegis Caller, my static rotation puts out 135k or thereabouts. It can go higher, obviously, but we're just talking about a static rotation here. If you swap Aegis for Sentinel, the very same rotation jumps to 141k, and if you then swap Reliquien for Slivers of the Null Arca, it jumps again to 144k. And that's with a static rotation. If you optimize every single thing, we're talking 150k. The reason for this second damage bump is that Null Arca is triggered by critical damage, and the proc itself can critically strike. So all of that crazy crit chance we get from Sentinel makes Null Archer stronger than it would be otherwise. Null Archer is a perfectly decent set, but A, it's quite niche since the proc targeting is somewhat random, and B, it overperforms on the dummy because it's almost always paired up with Sentinel, which is rarely feasible in content as we just discussed. Now, I don't want anyone to take that 9k difference in DPS and say, that's the power of Highland Sentinel right there. It's never quite that simple, but I think we can all agree that it skews the numbers in a big way. Especially as we said in point 1, when it's not really something we can use in content except in very specific circumstances. Why does this matter? Those who are used to optimizing know that dummy setups aren't always the same ones you use in content. We often have at least 5 different setups for just one trial. Using Sentinel on the dummy is essentially the same thing, optimizing for a specific fight. Again, nobody who does this is doing anything wrong. The problem is that dummy tests are often used as build advice, and plenty of players aren't aware of these nuances. They just want to know what's meta so they can prep the setup and go have fun in trials with their friends. Which brings us to the third point. People are seeing this combo in CMX reports and asking, is this what I should be running? No, your current setup is probably better, so long as it's reasonably up to date. But people are spending their gold mats printing these sets without necessarily realizing the limitations. You might say that's their fault for not reading the tooltip, but it doesn't stop there. Some past channels have started rejecting any CMX reports with Sentinel, and some players are even getting stern lectures and being accused of trying to cheat their way into prog groups. Drama. Like I said, I'm not bothered by anyone using this on the dummy, but it does mean that guild officers and raid leads with DPS requirements now have to mentally subtract or add the extra numbers, or just raise their requirements across the board. The whole point of the dummy is practice and benchmarking, and content creators like me are basically forced to use these sets to keep our dummy numbers competitive, otherwise no one will take us seriously. Personally, I don't think this set is remotely worth all the hassle it's causing, but it's not the end of the world and Highland Sentinel probably is here to stay, so the best thing I can do is to clarify what it does and does not do. Hopefully I've covered that here. Once again, I'm not telling anyone what to do or what to think, you do you, but we've had so many questions about this set recently, it seemed clear that making this video would be helpful to at least some of you. Loads more DPS guides and other exciting stuff on the way, stay tuned for that, hit that sub button and please get in touch with any questions, either here in the comments or on our Discord, which is linked in the description. Thanks for watching guys.